Hey everybody, and welcome to Twin Talk, a video discussion show where twin brothers Chris and Kevin drink and draw while talking about comic books, movies, and all things pop culture. We are your hosts, Chris Hart,
Kevin Hart,
and today we're going to be talking about the long-awaited Godzilla vs. Kong.
Stick around to the end of the episode to see how our drawing of Mechagodzilla came out. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel for more content.
So it is finally upon us. Fourth movie in the Legendary Monsterverse. We knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Kong, the showdown of the year. It definitely felt like you said, like a UFC event, a big boxing match.
I just love the joke. Everyone's like, why are they fighting? Because it's like Mothra. He's like, why did you say that name? Save Mothra.
I'm really hoping that they make a Destroy All Monsters moving forward, especially since I feel like they kind of set that up in this opening sequence with Kong waking up in this like containment zone on Skull Island, and he's got like this like virtual background that's keeping
it's
him
almost
in.
like the Truman Show Kong version, you know?
Yeah.
He wakes up, he's scratching his ass, just another day in quarantine.
Just doing my morning routine.
He throws like the perfect like Tom Brady spiral of this tree at this like simulation, and we see that he's kind of being monitored by Monarch. Somehow they built this thing around Kong, and somehow they got him to succumb to, I guess, like
I just assumed they made like a giant batch of Long Island iced teas.
sedation.
Kong was done because, like you said, like it was on Skull Island that they had this containment thing, so they had to build that around him on his home, on his home turf. So I'd like to see. I want to see that movie
For real.
We know back in the 1960s version of Godzilla vs. Kong. Remember they were like getting him drunk on Skull Island with
those like a
giant
coconut
jars,
or something like that.
Those giant barrels of like raspberry like vodka, whatever he was drinking.
Honestly, this movie, even though it's Godzilla vs. Kong, it is very focused on Kong. It delivers a lot of like story arc for his character. He learned sign language throughout this with this deaf girl, which by the way, adorable. She was the greatest part of the movie to me, even though she didn't deliver a single word of dialogue. Her performance was incredible.
I was really happy to see that he learned sign language because it furthers his character, because we're all used to the same old with Kong. He lives on Skull Island. He fights dinosaurs. Foreigners come to the island and he falls in love with some white woman. And like we've seen it, and then he dies. But this one, this Kong ain't going nowhere. We see that they're setting him up for future installments in this Legendary Monsterverse, and I'm excited because I really like this Kong.
Yeah, me too. I'm a sucker for Kong. Going into this movie, I was more Team Kong just because I have a soft spot for Kong. I know you're more of a Godzilla guy.
Team Godzilla.
And that's cool. A lot of people were leaning towards Godzilla because they're like, how could a monkey beat an atomic fire-breathing dinosaur?
Radioactive lizard.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I think he held his own in this movie. Like, we'll talk about if there was a clear winner. It was just cool to see the two titans. Really, they even say in the movie, the two alphas. That's why kind of Monarch is kind of like keeping him like caged. They're like, the moment he steps out of this, Godzilla's gunning for him.
I had a coworker text me and she was confused. She was like, is Godzilla the bad guy in this one? And I just said, like, let her know. I was like, not so much a bad guy as he's this alpha, which was established in the last film, King of the Monsters. And even in 2014, they established him as this force of nature alpha predator that comes out and just balances like the scale, basically, of these giant threats that come his way. He wakes up, he handles business, and goes back to sleep. But now we see that there's this, Kong. They take him out of Skull Island, so that alerts him to another alpha that he needs to like assert his dominance for. And we see this Apex Corporation that they're trying to replicate or make their own sort of alpha to go against these titans so that humans can be the top dog once again. So that's pissing Godzilla off, making him look like a bad guy. Yeah.
This one, they kind of like give him that flavor of that, okay, we're kind of rooting against Godzilla because he's destroying everything. He's ruining Florida. He destroys the Apex facilities. Only 8 dead, by the way. Just in case.
My favorite part, it says breaking news, 8 dead.
After he destroyed an entire facility of like, we see like thousands of human beings working in this place.
Getting just destroyed. And it's like, that means more people die a year in a go-kart accident than a giant kaiju.
More people died chewing gum in their own.
For real. It's unbelievable. Let's talk about a few things that kill more than 8 people each year. We looked this up real quick. Vending machines, number one. Number one, vending machines. Vending machines kill 13 people a year by falling on top of them. Number 5, champagne corks. 24 people die a year from being hit by champagne corks. Are you kidding me?
It's not something to celebrate about. Messy handwriting, number 8. Messy handwriting.
This one actually makes sense.
Especially if, doctors chicken scratch. Indirectly leads to a whopping number of 7,000 deaths annually because the prescriptions are prescribed wrong and that person either overdoses or gets the wrong prescription that will not cure them. 8 people dead in this kaiju accident.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, Godzilla's made out to be the bad guy in this film. Kong is kind of like the hero. Even all the humans are kind of siding with him, oh, we need Kong, the world needs Kong, because they need to get to the Hollow Earth to get this power core that is supposed to power up whatever Walter Simmons is leading them on to believe will help the humankind kind of restore balance with the humans and these kaiju.
Walter Simmons, a.k.a. knockoff Tony Stark. He comes into the picture oh, it's good to be back.
Antonio Banderas.
He's even got the goatee.
Yeah. This guy's just drinking whiskey and rye the entire film.
Yeah, for real. Every shot he was in, he had like a straight bourbon.
Yeah. We know right away they're villains because just the name Apex and just the facilities that they're in. I really liked the I forget the actor's name, but the conspiracy theorist. I think in the movie his name was Bernie. He was TTP.
Bernie Hayes or something like that.
Bernie
right?
Hayes,
Didn't
yeah.
say Hayes on her?
Yes,
on his,
Titan Truth podcast. I love that guy because he's just trying to do what everyone else here is trying to do in 2021 with the quarantine. We're just trying to start a podcast, trying to get people to listen. And he's like, listen, that's not the point. The point is that I'm going into Apex. I'm trying to get the eye or whatever.
I wonder if he did paid promotion to get some bots, even though he's against bots because Apex Corporation is making bots.
Exactly.
Robotic kaiju. Let's talk about that for a second too. I love the commercial. It's so hopeful. It's oh, Apex. They're making these things that better the world. Robotic limbs and stuff. Death-dealing monsters.
I did like that idea though, and it's about time. Would you say we're 4 movies in that we finally come up with a solution? And I really don't think they're bad guys. Every villain thinks they're right, and I feel like Walter Simmons kind of had a good idea going, and he was just trying to restore balance of humans being the dominant apex, pun intended, in his corporate name, the species on the planet, because we've been trampled on by these kaiju for how long now, and he was just trying to create something to get rid of them. And I thought that was a cool aspect of having the humans kind of not be like the ants in every single movie and kind of have a force. And it just is a cool way to introduce Mechagodzilla because that would be a realistic approach to this character. And I thought it was incredible in this film.
As realistic as that world could get.
Could be, yeah. I mean, you got to kind of suspend disbelief at this point.
Yeah.
But it would be a realistic approach in a world like that to almost like Pacific Rim. They were oh, in order to fight monsters, we became monsters.
Yeah. Which is badass.
And I love that film. I love that concept, the first movie at least. But this was kind of their version of that, would be Mechagodzilla being the human's answer and solution to these kaiju, and I thought it was brilliant. And as much as I understand the design, it's almost like a case where this design here, the older design, looks a little bit better and looks a little bit cooler.
It's just a classic look.
It's just classic. Yeah, this was more realistic, and I'm okay with that. It was still badass.
It worked better in the film. They released the toy of Mechagodzilla almost a year and a half ago at this point. And it kind of spoiled the fact that he's even in this movie, and we were kind of disappointed in the character design of it. But when you see it in the film, it plays a lot better.
Yeah, it really works.
We actually even said that when we were watching it. The part where it has King Ghidorah's head, and they have the neuron links hooked up to it,
so sick,
so that they can connect to it psionically. They said
because they said he was telepathic or something.
Yeah. It's got all these wires that is connected to the dead kaiju Ghidorah's head, which is so sweet.
Yeah,
it's
really
very
cool,
very sci-fi, but like you said, very Pacific Rim. But I appreciated that.
A movie called Godzilla vs. Kong. This movie's a 9 out of 10 for me. It delivered. I know you had some gripes with it with the humans and stuff, but we're not here to watch the humans.
No,
we're here to see a monkey and a radioactive dinosaur slap each other for 2 hours. And on that note, it delivered, man.
Yeah.
It was like an event, like you said, a UFC fight. When we watched this, we were kind of like Buzz Lightyear. We're a little 3 seats to the wind, and it actually added to the experience. I wanted to see it I'm still going to see it in theaters, but obviously it's streaming on HBO Max with the current situation. We watched it at a buddy's house who has like a ridiculous sound setup, and it was incredible to hear. The entire house was shaking, and we were all just like, yeah.
It was pretty unreal. I had fun making fun of the movie, but you loved it for what it was.
I loved it.
I'm actually very disappointed in the human aspect of it, and I know we don't go to see these movies for the human aspect, but out of the 4 films, it's definitely my least favorite, just because I felt like it should have been taken a little bit more seriously. But at the same time, like, like you said, Godzilla vs. Kong, for the showdown that it's supposed to be, this movie delivers. The kaiju fights are amazing, especially the Hong Kong battle. The colors are gorgeous. The fight choreography is incredible.
The fight choreography is incredible. But the humans, they're serving their purpose. This movie is called Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's supposed to be focusing on them. These CGI monsters actually have a better story arc, more emotions than half of these human characters, and that's the whole point, is we're supposed to kind of laying it up for these monsters. They're really the stars of the show in this Legendary Monsterverse. I'm loving Kong's story arcs. I'm loving Godzilla's story arcs. Mechagodzilla, we got an introduction. Even a return of Ghidorah, like how to utilize him into Mechagodzilla, I thought was brilliant.
I said to you before, I felt like that kind of cheapened Mechagodzilla.
No.
But you said you fought back on it. I was like, yeah, like it's just a cool ass concept.
You even hear his voice like when it overrides and the guy's like the whole time he's in like the helmet, he's like, glitching out, and then his eyes roll back and he's no longer in control. I was like Turkey is done. Yeah.
I was like audibly like, oh no.
Yeah.
And apparently the guy who was like piloting Ghidorah / Mechagodzilla was Serizawa. I don't know if that was his nephew or his son or his grandson.
Somehow related
because I put on the subtitles at home and I was just like, oh wow, it was Serizawa.
Which is cool. I don't mind that.
Yeah,
nice connection.
That's cool. Yeah.
Although Serizawa was all about. That's the whole thing that I want to see overarched throughout this Legendary Monsterverse, is that he was all about coexistence, which is a great theme. But then this guy is just like piloting the thing that will kill all the kaiju. Yeah, so it was kind of like counteracting itself there.
And then Madison Russell's character, who...
She's just apparently a badass. This girl, she weighs like 80 pounds wet. Yeah. She's like, we're going to go fight the kaiju. I was like, come on.
She's forgetting that she no longer has powers because it's not Stranger Things.
It's not Stranger Things, exactly.
And her mother, Vera Farmiga from the last movie, is apparently dead, which I didn't know.
You just told me that. I
didn't know until interviews on like YouTube, watching interviews of the cast. She was like, oh, her mother passed away, and now she's trying to keep her agenda, her purpose.
Never explained.
I was like, wasn't her purpose to like murder billions of people in the last film? And wasn't she against it in the last one? Now she's for it just because her mom, bit the dust. And it's just like
that's where it's a little bit
what I'm saying, like,
murky. Yes, I mean obviously like. Even though they're making an attempt to be a shared universe, connected storylines, there's going to be some plot holes. And yes, there are in this movie compared to the last few ones. As a kaiju film, this movie's incredible. I love the exploration of Kong's character, that he can speak sign language. That he's got this connection to this young girl. I love the fact that Godzilla's trying to assume his dominance, and they become kind of like buddies by the end, almost like a BVS type thing. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we got Mechagodzilla was so incredible.
That's great, yeah.
But then also the Hollow Earth. Let's talk about the Hollow Earth. The Hollow Earth was such a sick exploration, and the whole thing to me was just like almost like a widening opening of this franchise. They've been speaking about this Hollow Earth for how many movies now?
Yes, I believe it's the first.
Finally got a sneak peek of it, and I'm so like intrigued by that aspect that I can't wait to see more.
Him with being the king of Hollow Earth, getting that axe.
He sat down on a throne, for God's sake. Yeah. He's now officially King Kong. Yes,
and I just want to see like where that goes, because like it was our friend Anthony told us that it was like one of like Godzilla's.
The spikes, right?
The dorsal fins from 100%. One of his kind, which it definitely was, because it was like radioactive. And then he puts it in the ground and it makes like a Godzilla.
It's like it charges like your iPhone 10.
Yeah, exactly. They even said it's charging up. I was like, okay, that's pretty convenient,
Yeah, exactly.
How long has this been laying dormant? It's still just you're charging. But like that was all cool stuff. I was down for that. That was very sci-fi. I even turned to you at one point when they're like getting in those Apex jets to go to the Hollow Earth. I was like, this is a great X-Men movie. Yeah. And then when they go through the Hollow Earth, it's like 2001: A Space Odyssey when they're just going through space-time. I was just like, man, this movie is going all out. So like that was cool. I just feel like Godzilla was shortchanging this, because the whole time, basically Godzilla's plot in this movie is just him wearing a gimp mask, trying to whip King Kong into submission. That's his arc as a character. But Kong has more of like he carries the movie on his shoulders.
Yeah, it's a very Kong.
I liked how they furthered his plot, because Kong has been very one note, like we said before. So I'm glad that this gave him like character development.
And I'm excited to see, because you're saying they're war bats, but like those things in the Hollow Earth, there's so much.
I'm not saying the toy collection from Walmart says
toy collection, but like they look a lot like going forward. There's no end credit scene, by the way, which I was super disappointed in.
I'm pissed.
Although it does kind of end on a cliffhanger of like what could be next. But these war bats, these like snakes with wings, they kind of like remind me a lot of Destroya.
Yes, that'd be sick.
Which is kind of like Godzilla's like apparently like his Joker, right? Like the one thing that could like really take him out. And so I'm excited to see if Godzilla will make his way down into Hollow Earth in the next few films or whatsoever, for almost like we've been theorizing like a monster island. If it's not Skull Island, clearly like there's a whole hollow earth like at the center of the earth. This whole thing is unexplored, and it's gonna be so sick to see in the rest of the films.
The way they explained it was that hollow earth is at the core of the earth, but there's openings at Skull Island and Antarctica. So there's a lot of room for there.
How are they getting light into this hollow earth though? Because the sun is like on the top. Like,
very true.
It's weird, but you know, throw reality to the wind in these franchises. But for what it is, I love it, and I want to see the monsters have like a Monster Island fight here, because the humans at the end of this movie, they're watching Kong do his thing in Hollow Earth, and so I wonder if they're going to do a Monster Island on the Hollow Earth, or if they were kind of going the route. Obviously, some humans would be on board for these kaiju to coexist, or to be against them, and would kind of have like a destroy all monsters. So I'm hoping to see if this franchise will continue, just keep going, like we said in recent videos, like Godzilla versus Gigan, Godzilla versus whatever, or if they have a cohesive plan to kind of wrap it up of like, okay, we either coexist with these things, or we try and destroy them and we can't, and then we coexist with them. So I'm super excited to see what comes next. That first fight sequence when they're taking Kong from Skull Island to try and get him to the Hollow Earth is incredible.
Those ships, those Navy ships that they fought.
What are they made out of?
What are they made of? There's no
Kong was
logic
just, like,
to it.
Jumping on him, like, and apparently he's grown to even have any fight with Godzilla to even keep up at all.
I do like that he had some gray in the beard, though, because it's been like 40 years since Vietnam.
It's been like 30, 40
years. He
years.
was a teenager in Skull Island, like they said. So it was cool to see like a mature Kong.
So let's talk about the fights. Who do you think won? Clearly, round one goes to Godzilla. He was on his home turf. King Kong is having none of that. He can't swim. He can't fly.
Yeah. That water fight was, to me, was so unfair. I do love that when Kong finally comes up to like breathe air, he just like vomits the water. He's just like, yes. Like he can't breathe underwater. Godzilla's just like owning him.
Oh my God.
And then he comes up on the Navy ship, just like
he was like a shark.
Spits out water. Yeah, it was scary, honestly.
He kept circling around.
And he like
stuff.
just kept coming up and grabbing. I was like, ooh, that's scary.
His dorsal fins. Yeah, at one point he does a deep dive, and I was like, oh my God, he's about to come back up. And that's what we saw in the trailer. They showed so much of this fight in the trailer, I feel, but there was still so much of this fight that like gave me chills. I was like, this was so damn good to see.
Fights are great.
The fights with today's technology, and then the Hong Kong battle reminded me a lot of Pacific Rim. Colors are gorgeous throughout this film, very well shot, and the Hong Kong battle apparently round 2. Let's call it round 1.5 because round 1.5 did go to Kong, but then Godzilla wrecks King Kong. He's like scratching. At one point, Kong even dies.
Yes.
He's like dying. They're like, we gotta CPR him with this giant Apex electrocution like jet, and they bring him back to life, and he comes back supercharged. Although I'll say this, in round 3, whatever you want to call it, with Mechagodzilla, Godzilla's getting smashed by Mechagodzilla.
Like the first 2 fights definitely go to Godzilla. Kong, you could make an argument that he maybe won half that fight in Hong Kong, but by the end though, like Kong's dead. Godzilla is getting wrecked by Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla's like grabbing him by the neck. He's like treating him like a dog.
Oh my God.
He's like toilet training him. He's like throwing his head in his piss. Like, you like what you did? You like what you did? And then Kong has to be like resurrected to even
join the fight.
Because Godzilla's like, bro. Just getting wrecked.
But that's the thing. They said, what was his name? Walter Simmons. He was like, he's drinking his whiskey and rye. He's like, not only is it Godzilla's rival, but it's his superior. So technically, Kong beat the thing that is superior to Godzilla, and he rips his head off. He does the whole, King Kong chest beating and everything. So that was sick. That's why Godzilla kind of is like, konnichiwa, bows to it.
I will say that, like, I just love that scene in Hong Kong where like Godzilla's like stomping on Kong's chest, and Kong's done. He's shot, but like Godzilla roars at him, and Kong just like screams
it
right back.
back.
And it was like, like he's not going to go out like a punk. He's a king too. Even if
Kong
he was
bows to no one.
even if he was about to die, he was going out like a badass. So it was just cool at the end too when they do finally beat Mechagodzilla. The two of them just kind of like do that standoff, that Western cowboy, like stare at each other and then right off in the sunset. So that was cool to see that they're both still like the respective alphas, and it sets up for another future installment.
What did you guys think about the movie? Were you Team Zilla? Were you Team Kong? Were you satisfied with the outcome of the fight? Let us know in the comment section.
Again, thank you to everybody who sent in their fan art of Godzilla, Kong, or any of the kaiju from this franchise. It's always fun seeing your guys' take on the characters too. We love the creative process, so keep it coming.
Anyways, that about wraps up today's episode of Twin Talk. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, Comment below to join the discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you next time. Peace!